Good morning. Welcome to the upper deck for Pinstripe Chronicles. And we are the podcast for the fans, by the fans.
Cue the music.
That would be great if only I could find the music.
Oh,
We're having our first glitch.
glitch is
There we go. Good morning. We had our first glitch. I couldn't find the music. Oh well.
One and done. And I already see Elliot. If that was related to what just happened, and here we go. Oh dear, a glitch. Spencer says, yeah. All right, but that should be it. That's our quota. We only allow
that's our glitch for the day. Yep. And I'm Chris, and that's Lynn.
Hey.
And we are happy you're spending part of your Sunday morning with us. We are very excited. It's spring training is happening. Things are popping.
We have actual things to talk about actual players. And I want to say good morning to JJ and to Jonathan and to Lori, CWE, and of course, Spencer is with us. And Mike Perez, how are you? Good to have you with us. Thanks so much for joining. FJ, nice to see you. Happy Sunday. It's been a week. We missed you. Eli, good to see you. Michael, nice to see you back here. And let's just roll then.
Let's roll. It's pretty exciting. We've got trivia and we've got news to start off the show. Lynn, you want to hit us with the trivia?
Sure, here we go. And as usual, I'll share the screen. And this is as the norm, courtesy of our friend Spencer in the chat. So here we go. So 20 years ago this week, the Yankees stunned the baseball world when they traded star player Alfonso Soriano to the Texas Rangers for Alex Rodriguez. It stands as one of the greatest trades in Yankees history. I think that would be an interesting question in and of itself for another time. Yeah. The trade was stunning because it happened in the wake of the MLBPA rejecting a trade for Alex between the Rangers and the Red Sox. Had that trade happened, who were the players the Red Sox were sending to Texas to make A-Rod a sock?
What a great question.
Yeah. So
wow.
Two players who would have gone to Texas to in order to make A-Rod a sock.
And Spencer, thank you for that question. And also, I was going to save this till the end of the show, but given that I didn't know that that was the trivia question, but in light of that, I want to bring up something I saw this week, and I'm sure you all saw it too. But CC Sabathia has come out and said that A-Rod should be, his number should be retired. And I wonder what the fans in the chat thought of this. Lynn, what do you think?
I think that CC is a really nice man, and loyal to his cohorts of the time, and I just don't see it. I think that what are we going to do? Put an asterisk next to his number on the sign that goes up? Because there is a blemish on his record, right or wrong, regardless of the fact that there's players in the Hall of Fame that probably shouldn't be there by that standard either. But I'm talking Yankee standard, and I just don't think he deserves, great as he was, and as critical as he was in 2009.
Yeah,
I'm just not buying it. So Spencer right here is saying he would. What about you, Chris?
I think it's interesting what FJ says, that A-Rod wasn't a Yankee long enough. It seems like there's, some interesting standards when it comes to retiring numbers. And I wish that I had researched this a little bit, and maybe I'll do that for the next show. But I wonder what the criteria is for retiring numbers, or if it's just a feel good kind of thing for the organization. If anyone in the chat knows what the criteria are, or if there are published criteria, I'd be interested to know that. But as far as me, A-Rod, retiring A-Rod's number, it goes back to the question of whether or not we want to honor the steroid generation. I think in some respects, Lynn, is that what you're referring to, the blemish?
Yeah.
Because I mean, A-Rod had such a contentious Yankee existence that it's not surprising that his number's not been retired, and I don't think it will be. I think that A-Rod, his contribution was significant, but I don't think it'll be honored out in the field. I don't think he'll be honored in Monument Park.
Yeah, and I'm seeing some comments roll in. FJ's feeling was he hasn't been a Yankee long enough. CWE chimed in to say that he wasn't part of a dynasty. Neither of those things, I'm sure, are relevant criteria to numbers that are up there. But to your point, Chris, does a rubric exist for this? I don't think so.
Yeah.
It's clear that a rubric doesn't exist for the Hall of Fame, which is all over the map, to at least from a fan's view. And Spencer, when you're saying that you see it as like the Giants retire Barry Bonds number, we could retire A-Rod. Well, I see it as we're talking about the Yankees here, not the Giants. And first of all, we'll need a bigger stadium the more numbers we put up. And I think that those really need to be dedicated with careful thought. And we don't, absent of the criteria, it is just opinion based right now. And Spencer, I respect your opinion that his numbers should be up there. But when I think of the fact that he's up there with Mansell and Ruth and Gehrig and DiMaggio and our current, the greats of our lifetime, I just don't see it belonging there. Yep. So that, and that's what we get to do is
Right.
like respect each other's opinion and move on.
Exactly.
Right.
I'm sorry, Lynn, go ahead.
Sorry. No, I was just throwing up FJ's comment that they wouldn't let A-Rod make a speech to recognize his 30th hit. So he's definitely not getting his number retired.
Right.
And I'm going to say on A-Rod's behalf, that's a bone they could have thrown him.
Yeah.
Because that was a major accomplishment, but that ship has sailed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Okay. I wanted to, Lynn, you had mentioned to me something new that the MLB is doing this year. And can you put that up on the screen?
Yeah, sure. Happy to do that. Whoops.
MLB has a new initiative this spring, and it's very exciting. We are going to get an opportunity to see some of the best prospects in game action.
Yep. And I'll throw some snippets up from the article on MLB.com.
Yeah. I'm sorry, you go ahead.
So what Chris is referencing is going to take the place of the All-Star Futures game, which is typically in July. And the real excitement around this new concept is that instead of one team representing all of the American League and one team representing all of the National League, each team gets to build a roster of their own prospects. And then and it's going to be divided into the Grapefruit League and the forget the other.
Cactus.
Yeah, then the Cactus League. Thank you, Chris. Teamwork makes the dream work. And so it'll be 16 matchups, and this would be so helpful and so exciting at the same time.
Yeah.
Helpful because everybody gets an eyeful of as many prospects as possible in that game to see what they're about and how we'd feel about them being brought up and are they ready. So it's great for fans. It's obviously great for management and leadership in terms of, okay, is this enough or do I need to go and grab another so and so for the farm because this isn't looking so great. I mean, it's a small snapshot, but it's an exciting one. And it turns out that we are the lucky ones facing the Blue Jays on March 16th. And so 12 of the 16 games are going to be parts of double headers, and we happen to be one of them. So mark the calendars for March 16th. Have your St. Patrick's Day warm-up party because we have the Jays at 1:05, and then after it we have the prospects at right after that. And we get to watch it because if you have yes or MLB, then you'll be able to watch. But
This is going to be fun.
what so I know everyone is really focused right now in the chat on the retired number thing and also about the possibility of Snell not really being a lost cause at this point.
Right.
But what about this new idea, guys? What about the um the the All-Star Future games going away and this new way of spotlighting the prospects? Chris, how do you feel about it?
I can't wait to see this because, for one thing, it's always, I never get to see the prospects. I don't live near one of our minor league teams, so I never get to see these guys. And the idea of seeing them playing in action is really fun. So I'll be watching all of these.
Yes, and I will too because face it, I mean, any action is good action.
Yeah,
If I'm working because it's a day game, I'm recording and watching. And so just excited also to see how our guys are
right.
showing up too. So I'm
Okay.
really excited. Looking forward for that March 16th doubleheader in particular, but looking forward to next Saturday against Detroit when we get to see them in
Absolutely.
action. Yeah.
Okay, and let's jump in the chat and find out what we think about Snell. We found out this morning that Bob Nightingale's reporting that the Snell that Snell possibly is not dead in the water. That the Yankees still retain interest. That they perhaps are there feelers out to see if Snell will take uh, shorter deal. I don't know. I would be very excited if Snell became a Yankee today.
Yeah. And it's clear that this means, for sure, even though we knew it, if they're circling back to Snell, then Monty is even further off the table than we already thought. Um, so and we'll see what comes of it. And there's Boris in the way. I don't know. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. How much longer it's going to take before Snell and Montgomery say, "Screw you, Boris. I need to get in there and stretch out and have a spring training and
Right.
just grab at something." So, anyway, so back to the breakout thing for a second. So I just want to clarify for Spencer. Yes, that's what it means. Each franchise builds their own roster of prospects to play against each other in those matchups. So, the Yankees will pick which prospects will be on the roster for their matchup against the Jays, for example, who will pick their own prospects. What wasn't mentioned in anything we read was whether or not they're able to sub in other players. Obviously, if a pinch runner is needed for an injury or something like that, but yes, that's the concept. So it's their chance to, I would imagine, it's their opportunity to pile together all the ones that they think are the most ready for the show and try them out this way. So I would expect to see a lot of triple A, high double A players on that roster
Yeah.
on the 16th.
Okay.
And let's see what Ella had to say about it. Okay, so so
Yeah.
Li is giving some
Right.
thoughts about who might be on it. Oh, we were just talking about Lelaine, Chris and I, before we came on
Yeah.
the show. That's an interesting, and it is a hot take, Li, because I he's in single A, I believe. If not lower. So I think single A at least, but that's interesting. But I think there's enough pitching prospects higher up that it would make that unlikely. But that's why you called it a hot take accurately.
Yeah, exactly. Rodon has been the talk of camp, and nothing could make me happier. I mean, if we're not going to get Snell, which is fine with me actually, because I think that the starting rotation, if they stay healthy, is a solid rotation. And the reports are all great coming out about Rodon.
Absolutely. And there was a nice write up about Rodon and his journey from that horrible game in Kansas City to now. And he really did the smart thing. He took a break from mental health and rest. And, he just focused on doing what he enjoyed, spending time with family, before he turned back to, getting into shape. And boy, did he get into shape. Um, he came back leaner and, personally, I like the shaven, Rodon. I don't know if anyone wants that mustache back. But he looks, younger, leaner. And it looks like that extra time made the difference.
Right.
And Chris, I know that you had some numbers about what he's doing with his velocity.
Well,
um
yeah, I didn't like, I mean, he's, from what I understand, he's touching 97, which he never did last season. He's definitely healthy going in this year. Last year, he had the injury. He never had a complete spring training. I think Rodon is going to be someone to watch all season. And there's no question that he's going to be improved from what he was last year. The question is, how improved? Will it be enough? I see that Michael had said that he would like a World Series rotation, and I have to concur with that. I wish that we could had a crystal ball that we could see whether or not the Rodon will be healthy, whether Nestor Cortez will be healthy, um, and whether or not Blake Snell ends up on this in the starting five. But even if he doesn't, I think we've got a solid staff, and it's not particularly deep, but that's just right now. It's once we start to see these pictures, my feelings on that will probably change.
Yeah, and when you do a comparison between last year and this year, during spring training, last year he was around 85, 88 miles per hour, and touching up to 92, and incrementally better this time around, 88 to 90, and 94 to 95 on the average. But as you mentioned, Chris, he did touch 97 earlier this week. So it's a good sign. It's a positive movement. Any uptick in the stats is a good one. And Blake's feeling is that he's just moving more athletically,
Yeah.
with more power.
Yep.
And he still just has some mechanics to still work out. We know last season he was obviously tipping his pitches, which was part of his downfall in terms of, let's take for example that 8 inning stretch with no outs, that he went through last season.
Right.
He was tipping forward and saying, "Here, may I present to you my fastball? Coming at you now, ready?"
Yeah.
So that kind of adjustment's gonna go a long way for him.
I think it's Ally Yankee King's disagreeing with me that the rotation isn't deep. And he's telling me about Warren, Weaver, and Hampton. And I can't wait to see those guys. I'm really looking forward to changing my opinion. I know that I'm not the only one who thinks that the rotation is thin, but especially since we don't know what we've got in Nestor at this point, we're not sure what. I mean, Nestor, the story came out this week that he was rehabbing on his own and not particularly advancing, and that he ended up going down to Tampa where he made strides working with the Yankee training staff. So I think that there's question marks, if nothing else, in the starting rotation. But we'll see what happens. We just need some games. I need some action. I need to see these things.
Right. Yep. Definitely need to see it. And so Michael, we're asking a lot from all these guys to have bounce backs. You bet
Exactly.
your bippy we are. Oh
Yep.
my God, I just channeled my grandmother. Um, but it's better than saying what I wanted to say. Absolutely, we're asking a lot, and we should be asking a lot, and they should be asking a lot of themselves.
Right.
And that's exactly what we've seen from Rodon and from Stanton and Spencer. By the way, thanks for the acknowledgement on Stanton. Who, by the way, I am disappointed that I haven't seen him at camp yet.
Yeah.
But
I just want to say that Soto showed up today. So yay! He's a
yay!
Yankee and he's in camp.
Yep.
A day early. It's time. I can't wait to see what Soto does. This is the most excited I've been for a player. I mean, I can't even tell you.
Yep. And oh Michael, that's so nice of you. Thank you for the compliment. We love having you. And yes, in all due respect, I hope you eat your words too.
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
So and you're absolutely right. Probably even worse, L.I. Yankee King is what was going in my head. Um, so so despite what I just said about Stanton, I do want to say that um he doesn't have to be there yet, right? I mean, they
Right.
don't report until tomorrow. But what is phenomenally encouraging is how many guys showed up early,
Yeah.
because as I think most everyone knows, especially our experts in the chat, per contract, they get to do whatever they want in their off season. The Yankees can't dictate their diet, their training regime, who they train with, where they train, etc. And so the fact that so many guys, leading with Aaron Judge, came back as early
Yeah.
as they did to train with the team trainers, with their own colleagues on the field. And I just think that's so telling, and for me, a great sign of a boost of morale that I was so worried about last season. Like, let's get together, let's get down there, let's prep for the prep. Is very telling for the mind shift that I think is present. These
Yeah.
these guys know more than anybody how painful last season was, and they're showing up for it
Yeah.
because of that.
I mean, Judge is the captain, and the captain leads the way. He's down there. I don't know if any of you caught his interview this week on Sean Casey's podcast. It was excellent. Judge talked about a lot of things, but one of the things that he said, and he said this before, and that is that he wants to bat third. He's looking forward to Soto in the lineup, and he's looking forward to all those opportunities to drive him in. What do you think in the chat? Where should Judge and Soto bat in the coming season?
And my opinion is whatever Judge wants, Judge should get.
Yeah.
And JJ, I think you're confusing the Yankees with the Blue Jays. So I would suggest that you take a look at some stats and height and weight, and come back to us next week with your correction. Thanks.
Yeah, and also I think that the interesting thing about camp, we've had a couple of injury reports already. Nothing too terrible. Scott Efros is not going to be back until summer, probably. He has tweaked his back, or he's got a back problem. And Trevino has a calf injury. He's going to be out the next couple weeks. So we want to keep in mind that we have an interesting catching situation unfolding in camp. There's 5 catchers. I think there's 5. And Trevino down, that leaves us with Wells, Wortvet, Narvaez, and Augustin Ramirez.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And down in AA, we have Ben Rice as well, who's gotten, a lot of talk lately.
Yeah, but I think Ben Rice is a first base guy.
Well, he's catcher and first, I believe.
Oh.
He could do both,
Oh.
is what I think. But, the good news, I think, Chris, is that Trevino's still practicing lightly, but still practicing.
Right.
He's catching, during batting practice and doing a little light running work. So hopefully sooner. I'm not any bit as concerned about Trevino as I am about Efros. And the fact that it's a different injury. Now he's a double indemnity in terms of history with injuries.
Right.
And so speaking of depth, that's a pen
Right.
concern because we relied on him for those middle innings.
Yeah, and I want to apologize. My dog is currently in here barking.
It's okay though because Daisy is a fan and a female fan, and she gets a voice on the show anytime she wants. Plus, she's cute as hell. Okay, so
Okay, she's quieted down again a minute. And back to Wells. I know fans are looking for Wells to maybe become the number one catcher.
I think Wells will be the number one hit catcher until Trevi is back and comfortable.
Yeah. Sorry about that. My husband took the dog out.
That's
So
totally okay. And so oh JJ, I'm sorry to call you out twice, especially since
I
I'm
think that
divided.
Wells is going to be one thing we want to note about Wells is that he's got a hot bat. He came up last season on September 1st, and he struggled when he first came up. He had some difficulties offensively and defensively. He had some interesting exchanges with Cole, but it looks like Cole ended up, that they ended up okay. But his bat came alive, and he's got power. So Wells is someone to keep our eye on as we go through spring training.
It'd be really great to get a catcher that could do both the things, right?
Yes.
And be like Gary Sanchez was at his best. Remember that there was a snapshot of that at some point in time. And I'm just letting you know that Yankee King wants to see Daisy. She's welcome anytime as far as Yankee King's concerned.
Fortunately, Daisy has left the immediate surroundings. She's leaving me alone.
She's safe and well cared for, rest assured. So I'll tell you something I'm surprised about, Chris.
Yeah.
And it's about my own attitude.
Okay.
And I'm going to put it up on the screen right now. I am now all in on Marcus Stroman.
Me too.
And this is what did it for me. So everybody take a minute to look at this and tell me that this isn't what you want to see and hear, especially with the baggage that Stroman comes with. That he put this out on social saying, sorry, not going to be talking to you. I'm busy. I'm with my squad working out. Sorry. To me, I'm like, okay, you can wear those pinstripes. I'll root for you. Yep. So I just wanted to shout out the Stroman.
Hey, Stroman, I felt like Stroman was the consolation prize when we got him. And yet at the same time, he is winning me over every step of the way. And an interesting thing came out this week that he is probably going to be pitching the home opener. How do fans feel about that?
Yeah, I'd love to hear how you guys feel about that. Hey, Jonna's on the on the Stro train. Strike Zone is excited. That's great to see.
Yep.
And so I think we got people on board and locked in maybe sooner than I was. It literally took me to yesterday when I saw this. I was edging that way. Because as you see, I gave up negativity for Lent. So So I'm trying to be positive about everyone as much as possible. But yeah, I think and in terms of the opener, I think Stroman's going to be pumped to pitch the home opener. I I I agree. And so I think my only disappointment is and actually Jana and I were talking about this back and forth on social. To me, like the home opener is the real opening day to me.
Yeah.
And it's a national holiday for me. Everyone I've ever worked for knew that that was a mandatory vacation day I was going to be taking,
Yep.
regardless. And so it's a little bit disappointing in that way. But hell, if he's going to be the one to get that first win of the season at home, that's going to be I'm all for it. But
It's huge.
yeah. Well, and Michael, just so you know, I'm guessing because of where that lands in the rotation, because Cole's opening up in Houston on
Yep.
MLB opening day. So
Yeah.
that's probably why. Otherwise, absolutely, it would have been Cole.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I'm all on board with Stroman. I'm ready to be his biggest fan. All he has to do is perform. Now I know that here we go. JJ is pointing out that he fell apart at the later part of last season. That's true. He did have injuries. He battled some injuries. He's coming back healthy. But before he went down, he was putting up some career numbers. So I think that Stroman, a healthy Stroman, is going to be a good Stroman for the Yankees. I'm not worried about it, about him not performing. Stroman's been solid throughout his career, but he was fighting some injuries in the second half of last season, and I think we got to give him a break on that score.
Yep. I agree wholeheartedly with that. And hey, Tats, we didn't see you come in, but yeah, I mean, we're cut from the same cloth, absolutely. And I know that Pinstripe Chronicles family will have something brewing on the home opening day. So
Yep.
look for that. And so JJ, um, who will be the Frankie Montas this year? Rodon or Cortez? Neither.
Neither.
Neither. I'm no longer a practicing Catholic, but I gave up this negativity for Lent. So
Okay.
I suggest you give it a shot as well. Let's manifest no injuries.
Let's
Um,
manifest that. Oh my God.
hey Dev, good to see you. I see that you
And
popped in.
I want to pose another question to the chat, and this has to do with DJ LeMahieu. My question is, do you think the Yankees are going to regret not upgrading at third base this year? DJ was named back in December as a starting third baseman, and I found that interesting, and I wonder what the chat thinks. It looks like Peraza is getting no love.
Yeah, Peraz is getting the love. But I don't think that it to me I'm double-sided about it. I'm going to talk out of both sides of my mouth for a minute. We haven't really seen enough of Peraza yet. Um and that's in fairness to him. And yet we need to go with what we know. We can't monkey around too much with what's going to give us the best outcomes.
Right.
And sooner or later, I think third base is going to become a pivot situation the
Yeah.
way, Trevi and Wells will be.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be the scenario.
That's
Um,
interesting.
that's just my take. As you pointed out to me, Chris, you reminded me when we were talking yesterday that DJ's 36.
Yeah, he
It's
will
hard
be.
to
I think he will be
will be
36.
36. It's hard for me to think that.
Yeah,
But and certainly want to talk history of injuries. So I think we're going to see a lot from Peraza, but I think it's right to start with have DJ be the lead
right.
guy on that.
Well, it's right. I mean, I don't see what else they could do really. DJ because Peraza didn't necessarily have success last year. DJ in the second half was coming on. He found something, so he had a better second half. I can understand it, but Matt Chapman's out there. They didn't make that move. Are they going to regret that? I don't know. DJ may. What happens if Rizzo goes down and DJ's got to go to first? Suddenly we've got Peraza, or they just recently acquired Jordan Groshans. I think he came over from was it the Dodgers? I wrote it down. Now I forgot. But Jordan Groshans is now in the mix, and he's had some success at third base. So we've got DJ Peraza, this Groshans, and Vivas, Jorbit Vivas in the mix. So
right.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think and there are folks in the chat saying they needed a little bit more depth out there.
Marlins.
But I think more are saying that that they're fine with DJ right where he is. Spencer's saying he's going to give us a lot of hits. John is saying she's riding with DJ this year. Strike Zone is saying he's good.
Okay.
And FJ, you're being realistic with, you're going to spend time on he's going to spend time on the IL. Frederick, we just want to say hello. Welcome to the show. Great to have you here. And I hope Oswald, who is one of our, utility guys, gets some more show this year. And we'll just see who he's going to be, replacing more than thinking of him out in the outfield the way he had been.
Well, I think too, when you have a season that ends with when you're 82 and 80, you're going into the next season trying with, Peraza, as I said, I don't know that you would start him, and unless he has an excellent spring. Maybe there is a third base battle internally that we don't know about. Maybe Peraza could steal the job. I don't think it's possible. I really don't. But DJ's the man, and he's going to be at third base. So I just think it's going to be interesting if Rizzo goes down, what we're going to have at third if DJ has to swing over to first base.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think by and large, our co-hosts in the chat agree. DJ, we don't have much more time left with DJ.
No.
And so, contract or aside, just age-wise,
Right.
let's just get him while he came back looking great. He's been clutch for us in the moments we've needed him, despite all the injuries. Let's give him that moment. And we should hold on to Peraza. There's some chatter going on about, don't waste him, put him back down to AAA,
right,
or trade him. But we shouldn't be doing that. So and FJ is saying about Rizzo. Yeah, that's interesting, FJ. It could be Ben Rice, who does double duty there with catcher and first base. Currently in AA, but as I said earlier, getting a lot of really good buzz. And so we'll have to see. I would guarantee I would be very surprised if he's not on that 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 match off with the Jays for the prospects game coming in March. So I
Has
think
Ben Rice played above AA though? I think he's a AA. I don't know that he's played AAA yet.
no, he's AA. Yeah, he's
Okay.
AA is what I had said. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So and looking ahead, Chris, we actually have our first spring training game before next show. Next Saturday, 105 against Detroit. Who do you think they're gonna have on the bump? And who do you think is gonna be on the field, Chris?
Oh boy, that's interesting.
And chat, think about it too, obviously.
I'd love to. I love to think it's going to be Cole. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to see that game. We're going to get the game on the 25th, but we're not getting the game on the 24th. I don't think it's being televised, but I could be wrong. Double check me, but I think we're only getting the game on the 25th.
I'm going on the website immediately because unless I misunderstood, Yes was doing all of the games.
I thought I saw this morning that one wasn't on there, but I could be wrong.
Man. Well, I hear what I want to hear sometimes, and I could read what I want to read sometimes. So
yeah, well,
maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm not wrong.
Yeah,
I'm really looking forward to that.
Living for it at this point.
Okay, so next week, if we can't see Saturday, we could talk about what we expect when we hang up with each other on next week's show. And maybe the roster will be out by then and it'll feel like, oh, it's an actual game day.
Exactly.
Yeah, because it is. It matters.
And maybe Snell will be a Yankee next week.
Who knows? Stranger things have happened, and I really agree with the notion. I really agree with myself that they have to be itching right now, Snell and Monty.
Yeah.
And they Boris runs their show, but they're the ones paying him. And so when are they just going to gang up on him and say, "Make the damn deal"? I'm really surprised. A lot of people thought it would happen by Thursday, and it didn't. So
Yeah.
every minute that goes by, it's more likely that
Yeah.
Snell's gonna say, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, okay. I'm gonna take something so I have something."
Right.
Um, and we don't want him brought on without any spring training under his belt. So, maybe
That's a
they'll make it
recipe for
happen.
disaster.
Yeah. So, and
Okay.
and Michael saying Snell, as a Yankee had it, then the Yankees had an A+ off season.
Yep.
Yeah, I think so. I think we're at a high A as it is, but yeah, I think that would add a plus to it. And to be able to say you have two Cy Youngs back to back in a rotation is a really nice thing to be able to say. So I'd be all for it. And so NFJ, I'm sorry,
That's
NFE.
good.
It's a good thing that what the Yankees are going for is short term, though. With the number 1 year short term. So,
Right.
and I didn't read anything. Doesn't mean it's not in the talks of like an option of options or, but so we'll see. I agree with you that that's a no go.
Yeah.
And I don't know how I'd feel about it if that's how we acquire them. That's a lot of money, especially in the Hal and Cashman world.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, that about wraps it up for me. Lynn, have you got anything else that you wanted to pop out there?
no, I'm just so excited to have the energy back and to
Yeah.
open up Twitter and see videos of our guys practicing.
Yep.
And I'm just looking forward to more of that now that everyone's coming back, and looking forward to the game starting and just seeing some actual baseball. And I will put the Shivia question of the week. I don't know what that is. Um, all right. So in addition to technical glitches, we have speech glitches, courtesy of me, every show. Okay. So bringing you back, way, way back to the top of the show with the trivia question. So the trade, the trade was stunning because it happened in the wake of MLBPA rejecting a trade for Alex between the Rangers and the Red Sox. Had that trade happened, who were the players the Red Sox would have sent to Texas to make A-Rod a Red Sox? This was 20 years ago when we had A-Rod, from we gave away Soriano, and then what happened then. But Rangers were looking to trade him. I mean, Red Sox were looking to trade him.
Right.
Whatever. Here's the answer.
John Lester?
John Lester, an all-star and New York Yankee nemesis, Manny Ramirez.
How interesting.
That's really interesting. Would I have hated Manny Ramirez less as a Ranger?
I know.
Probably not.
Would
Probably not.
John Lester have been a World Series champion with the Cubs if he had gone via the Rangers? Doubtful.
Yeah, that's a really
That's a good question.
it's fun to think about if that had happened, what would have happened after that. Um,
Yeah.
so thanks, Spencer. Another goodie. Really appreciate that.
And thank you in the chat for joining us. Don't forget to subscribe and like. Meet up with us on Twitter, Facebook, wherever you find social media. We are there. We are always ready to talk about the Yankees. Join us every Sunday, as you have this week. We have a blast bringing this to you and enjoying the chat.
Yep, and don't forget that Pinstripe Chronic our bros from Pinstripe Chronicles, and their shows every Monday. Help me out, Chris. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday
Yep.
at 10 a.m.
10
live.
a.m.
Yep, and we're so grateful for you. We love that our subscription numbers are on the uptick every week. Sharing is caring. Force your friends to subscribe. Promise them it's going to be a blast. We promise you that we'll follow up on that promise. And thank you. And as always, you have a reserved seat currently at George M. Steinbrenner Field, but always
Exactly.
on the upper deck with Chris and me. Go
Go
Yankees!
Yankees!